Welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Weng. We've seen dramatic twists and turns as U.S. voters have less than 4 months to decide their next president. President Biden has just sent shockwaves by exiting the race and endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris. This comes after America's last large shock, Trump's failed assassination attempt. We'll take a deep dive at what is at stake in this election, what it means for the U.S., and also for Taiwan and the world. Joining us today are Dennis Weng, Sam Houston State University Political Science Associate Professor, Tsai Jung-hsiang, National Chung-Cheng University Political Science Professor, Jasmine Lee, U.S. Taiwan Watch co-editor. A warm welcome to all on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
In President Biden's letter to the American people, he said, quote, "I believe it is in the best interests of my party and the country to stand down," and shortly after endorsed Kamala Harris, posting on social media that it's time to come together and beat Trump. Professor Weng, given that you just came off the plane from the U.S., what is the current situation in the U.S. right now?
Well, the current atmosphere, definitely you can see the difference from different parties. You know, from Democrat, you can tell the anxiety. And after after Biden decided to not taking the nomination, there's a kind of moving toward optimistic future. Not saying the Democrat is ready, or not saying Democrat will win the election, but at least the concern about the aging candidate is no longer there. Kamala Harris will need to unify the Democrat for sure, but many of the Democrats believe they still have time, 2 to 3 months to get it back. And from Republican side, you can tell like I said, optimistic. They believe after the first debate and also specifically after the first the shooting incidents, many of the Republicans believe they are prepared for the victory. So it's very clear the polarization is still there. The Democrat supporter believe they have the chance, they still have the shot. The Republican says believers believe they've already won. So it is very clear, like I said, the polarization still there. That's why we see the national poll is still very close, even though after the shooting incidents, many believe Trump is the one and Trump has a very strong chance. But the national polls still show the nationalized, national level polarization. But like we all know, given the electoral college electoral system, we have to look into the swing state instead of the national poll. So what I can say about the current status or stance of the American political atmosphere is Republican slightly leading the race, and Democrat is still fighting for the opportunity. We still have more than 100 days to run for the election, and many voters, especially the median voter, still wait and see. So I would say it's still another down race. It's still a very competitive race.
You talked about the Democrats now getting that aside in terms of Biden's old age, but in terms of the timing, I'll turn to you, Professor Tsai.
Okay.
Why did Biden pick this date to announce that he will not run for president?
Maybe something to do with his debate performance, and also maybe something to do with his capacity, mental illness or something like that, right? So,
but you could say that the debate was about a few weeks ago, but why now, though?
Yeah, the thing is that somebody tried to persuade him, you are the underdog. Maybe it's time for you to change, and maybe we can have a better candidate, Kamala Harris, because they believe a new candidate can be a game changer for the Democratic Party, okay? Because they have a power struggle issue, because sometimes they have to circle the wagons now, because Trump is winning, and Trump is very, very confident. And so maybe it's time to change a candidate, a stronger candidate to beat Trump. That's their goal now.
Speaking of the power struggle, Jasmine, how much of it do you feel former President Barack Obama and former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi pushed Biden into making this decision?
Yeah, I think they have been persuading and they have been publicly talking about this. And Biden has received a huge pressure internally, and I think that's definitely one of the major reasons that he stepped down. He decided to exit the election. So for the whole party and to unify the party, I think this is a decision he made for the future of Democrats.
So do you feel, this is a question to all of you, is this a politically calculated move, or do you feel it's a selfless move for the party and for the people?
It has to be. It must be. It must be a well-calculated move. And you just mentioned, in terms of the first debate, why now, right? I think there's three major reasons, if I may, to share. The first reason is American democracy. A lot of Democratic supporter or the Democratic politician strongly urge Biden to reconsider the whole situation, because now Trump is leading, especially after the gun shooting incidents, including former President Obama, including the former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. They indirectly, imply that Biden need to reconsider. So for American democracy, Biden need to reconsider. Second of all, for the Democrat, a lot of political, campaign donor, they specifically mention if Biden on the ticket, they will stop funding the Democrat candidate. That's a big concern for a Democrat politician. So, in terms of, the future campaign, especially this year, not only the presidential election is happening, but also, we have concurrent election, which is senator and the House of, the Congress. So for a Democrat, in order to avoid the situation that Trump, Republican won not only the president, but also the Congress and Senate, the Democrat need to unify, and the Democrat need to have, kind of a better situation so Biden step aside can create that momentum. Thirdly, I think the family matters. If you follow Biden's statement and also, pay attention to the close relation with the family, I think Hunter Biden is basically a concern within the Democrat Party, the legal issue.
As we saw in 2016 as well. You mentioned an interesting point in terms of campaign finance and donors. And Jasmine, you also work in finance, and we've seen Jeff Bezos of Amazon come out, and you see Elon Musk of Tesla come out to support Trump's campaign. How much of this do you feel has affected Biden and his decision?
I think so. Now a lot of Silicon Valley, those giants in Silicon Valley, they have been very vocal in recent years. So they are definitely very influential to the elections, and they start to come out after the assassination against Trump. And I think we also mentioned about the assassination, and this has a huge impact. I would say it has there are two major impacts. One of the impacts is that it helps to activate his base, also making people to be more vocal on supporting Trump. And I believe for those Silicon Valley giants, they also feel more comfortable, less pressure when they start to vocal their support for Trump. And the second impact is allow Trump to win the sympathy, also to reinforce this kind of very tough image of him. And if you look into the ABC News polling this morning, it suggests that the favorability for Trump actually increased to 40%, and that marks the highest peak for Trump in this poll. So I think indeed this assassination helped him to really galvanize his support and also to secure this kind of image. And but how can this favorability translate into the support, real support, if people really
as in votes, you mean?
Yes, because when it comes to vote, is choosing between two person and two candidates. And actually, just to mention, we are not confirmed yet if Kamala Harris is the Democrat presidential candidate. We are not sure yet. Very highly possible, but not confirmed. But coming back to the voting and the poll, I think it's still very hard because as U.S. is extremely divided right now. Even if a person he thinks after the assassination he have a higher favorability against Trump, if the Trump has a very different ideology with the person, it still is going to be a challenge for the person to really vote for him.
And 3 months is a long time where that could actually wane.
Yes. So, and we still have 4 months to go, 3 months to go. So a lot of uncertainty ahead.
We've talked quite a bit about Trump. Now let's take a look at that actual picture. This was Trump right after he was shot in the ear. You can see Trump raising his fist while blood was pouring over his face. Professor Tsai, I wanted to go to you. What was your first reaction when you saw this?
It was very shocking. Okay, it's an assassination attempt, but maybe he got injured by teleprompter, something like that. But it really boosts his popularity after this. Especially he made a speech in the convention, and I think it's very for him. It's kind of like, okay, I should keep going, and he said fight, right? So somebody would say this is an image of a wounded hero.
And with the Band-Aid on his ear.
Yeah, Band-Aid on his ear is kind of image. So I think this is very, very important, especially that's the reason why Biden dropped out of the race. Yes, because it's like an English saying, when it's all good for the goose, it's good for the gander. Okay, so this is kind of like an all or nothing challenge, right? Because the stakes are very, very high. So especially for Democratic candidates in Congress, if they keep going, if they just, okay, Biden stays in the race, maybe it's not good for them to get elected or re-elected. So this is, it's very dramatic, but we have to, that's my 2 cents.
We'll talk about Democrats and Kamala Harris, her candidacy, in a later part of the show. Turning back to Trump, let's hear from Ambassador John Bolton, who served as U.S. National Security Advisor in the previous Trump administration. He was also U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations. Ambassador, what would a Trump 2.0 presidency mean for Taiwan?
Well, I think it's very hard to know what a second Trump term would look like on Taiwan or most other national security issues. Trump doesn't follow a coherent philosophy. He doesn't really do policy in the sense most people understand that term. He's very transactional, very episodic, ad hoc in his approach, and he likes to know what's in Donald Trump's best interest. I think Taiwan would be well advised to be concerned about Trump's evident interest in getting back together again with Xi Jinping, negotiating the biggest trade deal in history, and in general, the pressure that he's under to lessen American involvement around the world, in NATO, in the Middle East, and even from his perspective in Asia. It's interesting that his new vice presidential running mate, J.D. Vance, wants to turn away from Europe to spend more time on the Pacific, but I'm not sure he's in sync with Trump on that point. So this is going to require, I think, a lot of effort by Taiwan, by the administration, by its diplomats in Washington and supporters in the United States to explain why this Chinese threat is very real, why it's part of the overall problem that the nations along China's Indo-Pacific periphery face, why we need greater cooperation with like-minded countries. Some efforts have been made in that direction, but I think this is going to require a maximum effort by Taiwanese diplomacy to knit itself together with other countries in the region to get an even stronger indication of U.S. support to deter China from coming to the wrong conclusion that Taiwan doesn't fully believe in its independence.
Ambassador Bolton mentioned that Taiwan needs to step up in making sure its needs are addressed in a potential Trump 2.0 administration. Professor Weng, what does that exactly entail?
Well, I think we have to, first of all, need to know that Trump himself may have a different view, compared to his advisors, including the former Ambassador Bolton. right? If you're looking back to his first term, he has a lot of different argument and statement on Taiwan, but in fact, the U.S. policy didn't really change a lot. So basically, what that means is that even if Trump got elected as a president, he still need to listen to national security advisor or the Secretary of State, listen to those advice. So I think a lot of people worry about Trump's Taiwan policy or the China policy, but we also have to remember, Trump will listen to advisor, even though the uncertainties are still there. But advisors, is important. But then we have to look into the advisor. Who will be those advisor and listen to some conservative side think tank scholar. One thing I noticed that in especially recent months, I heard from Washington D.C. many of my Republican friends told me they metaphor this U.S.-China-Taiwan relation as a shock theory. They mentioned shock theory. The shock theory mentioned U.S. is like the sailor, standing on the boat and look at the sea and they see someone swimming, and behind that person, is a shark. The shark refers to China, and the swimmer, the person is Taiwan. Many of my Republican friends says it all depends on whether the swimmer really willing to swim harder to get closer to the boat. So the sailor can actually extend a hand to help to grab the swimmer. If the swimmer does not do a lot and they just literally easily take time swimming, then the sailor may say it's too dangerous because the shark is getting too close to the swimmer.
So basically Taiwan has to take initiative.
That's right. So basically they will suggest Taiwan to do more, to swim harder, to actually fight for himself, so other people, external force, can step in and help Taiwan. If that's the case, this is a metaphor. We definitely, have to look into different argument. But if that's the case, and if that's a general consensus about the U.S.-Taiwan-China relation, I think what Taiwan need to do, especially dealing with the second Trump term, would be, prepare for Taiwan itself, prepare for our military, strengthen our military preparation. That's for sure. It's already, being long time argument, Taiwan need to do more. Increasing the defense budget, having, more well-organized training program for the military, and also for the reserve, and also get a better idea to unify the entire country. Doesn't matter if you are blue-green, you have to remember you have the threat, you have to deal with the threat, and how are you going to do it? It's all will show to the whole world. If you're willing to fight for yourself, if you are willing to prepare for yourself, maybe your friend will come. But one thing for sure, if you don't prepare yourself, your friend will also just be, a watcher, not a doer.
In a Bloomberg interview, Trump actually said, quote, "I know the people very well, respect them greatly. They did take about 100% of our chip business. I think Taiwan should pay for us for defense. We're not that different from an insurance company. Taiwan doesn't give us anything." Jasmine, what do you take of this? And what do you think Trump means by having Taiwan pay a protection fee?
Yeah, I think this rhetoric is actually aligned with his past rhetoric against other U.S. allies. They're basically as suggesting that Taiwan should financially contribute more to its own military defense. And I agree with Professor Owen that yes, Taiwan should tell the world and show to the world, demonstrate that we are taking our own responsibility and defending our own country is our responsibility. And this is actually what Taiwan has been doing. We are also boosting our military capability. So when Trump mentioned about that Taiwan should pay more, I think that needs further clarification. Does he think the current percentage of the current Taiwan is not paying enough, or it's just an overall, overall attitude? He's just saying that. So I think that's further clarification. I also wanted to mention that so Taiwan, for Trump, he perceived this security ties with the very cost cost-benefit perspective.
As with NATO, as you.
Yes. So when Bolton mentioned that Taiwan should prepare for the Trump 2.0, I think we also need to, it's also telling Taiwan we need to change a little bit on our mindset when thinking about the collaboration with the U.S., especially like Trump, he doesn't value the relations with the ties, relation with the allies that much, and he doesn't values the democratic values that much. And when that's the case, how Taiwan should like cooperate or collaborate with these allies, and that's something we need to prepare for.
Turning back to the Democratic ticket, let's now hear from Chen on Harris's chances and what this could mean for Taiwan. Jay is a delegate at the Democratic National Convention, where he will vote to officially nominate this year's presidential nominee. He is also national co-chair of Taiwanese Americans for Progress, founded as Taiwanese Americans for Biden, the first officially recognized Taiwanese American affinity group of a U.S. presidential campaign.
The fact that Kamala is now the likely Democratic nominee, it really increases the chances of Democrats holding the House. We all know that President Biden, he was a great president, but his last debate really caused a lot of fear among Democrats. What we don't often talk about is that the second worst debate performance of all time was by Donald Trump. And I can't wait to see Kamala Harris go up against Donald Trump, who is now over 20 years her senior. And I really think that she's going to prove to the voters that she is the right choice to lead this country. And when she does lead this country, I think we can expect to see a continuation of President Biden's policies. And as we know, President Biden has been one of the most vocal presidents to support Taiwan. The Biden-Harris administration, has been completely open about the need to defend Taiwan. President Biden has said that openly 5 or 6 times, that if Taiwan is attacked, that the United States will come to its defense. And I think we can expect nothing less from a President Harris administration. She's actually met with Lai Ching-te, the president of Taiwan, in her vice presidential capacity when he was a vice president. And furthermore, I think it's exciting if we have a president from California, which has the largest Taiwanese population in the United States. Almost half of Taiwanese Americans reside in California. So she understands our issues and she understands our community. And she's going to be great for Taiwan-U.S. relations as well.
Professor Tsai, Jay mentioned how Kamala Harris will unite the Democrats.
Yes.
We also saw just a few hours after that Trump went on CNN saying that Kamala will be easier to defeat than Biden. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't really think so. Maybe he's kind of overconfident right now, okay? Because Kamala Harris, she has some advantage to win more women voters, people of color voters, and young voters, that kind of stuff. So I don't think it's not competitive.
So you believe Trump is in overdrive now with
Yes.
the convention and
Yes.
the failed assassination attempt?
Yes, because now the game is a different one. So Kamala Harris, of course, he is part of the incumbent, and she is the part of the incumbent. She has to accept the legacy of President Biden. But the thing is that she's much younger, and she can, I think, at least right now, she can get a lot of, independent voters if they haven't decided yet. That's the thing. Yes.
Turning to you, Professor Weng, what do you believe in terms of the chances of the Democrats winning? As we've seen poll after poll, say that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump could be very close, and she is the best bet to beat Donald Trump in this election. And one other thing that's been trending online since the announcement from Biden is memes of Kamala Harris as the prosecutor, the attorney general, prosecuting Donald Trump, the criminal.
And then another one is considered like from a Democrat side as a felon, right? So it's definitely a contradicted, image. However, like I said, American politics is extremely polarized at this moment. That's why we see the national poll, even after the assassination, still get very close at the national level. But we have to look into the swing state. Most of the swing state led by Republican at this moment. Well, the challenge to the Democrat, especially to Harris and her VP selection, will be, how can they convince American people, American voter, they can do better than Biden based on Biden's policy. What I'm saying is they cannot change Biden's policy because that will be embarrassing, right? They have to follow what Biden has. It can be considered a legacy, but it's also a burden. Consider many people at this moment, many American voters, they worry about the inflation. They are not really buying into the Biden's economy. So Kamala Harris and her campaign team need to find a way to do something to promote, Kamala as a person, basically saying, this Kamala Harris, the new presidential candidate, can imply or can apply the Biden's policy and bring the Biden policy, all the good part of Biden policy, to an even better direction. So that will be a challenge. And of course, there are some advantages, like Professor Tsai just mentioned. This is important for American voter to see Kamala Harris as a different candidate, especially Kamala Harris bring hope and progress, because it's a female candidate, it's a minority candidate, But as I said, it all depends on whether the minority voter really unified behind Kamala Harris, right?
Coming out on election day.
Coming out on election day, it actually casts their vote. So on surface, it looks great for unifying a minority voter, but how many of them actually go out to vote? So that will be a challenge. And for Trump, I think the biggest challenge for Trump would be, how he behaved himself, how he perceived, how he being perceived, whether Trump will, say something crazy or do something, really, to play like too negative strategy against Harris. I think that will be, a losing point for Trump.
Thank you very much for all your insights.
Okay, thank you.
If you liked our show, please search for us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, and hit subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching, stay safe, and see you next time.